Australian Defence Force and New South Wales Police working together on the back of contact tracing information. Went to a home in southwest Sydney yesterday morning. That person was spoken to by police and ADF, was issued a penalty infringement notice, stated that he'd hopped in his car and went out for some fresh air. But the point is that if you are going to behave like this, yesterday over 2,300 houses visited. If you're going to behave like this, if you're going to step outside the health orders, you will be checked on.
The other day, while listening to this Australian police officer talk about how the Australian police are now ticketing people and visiting the homes of people who dare go out and get fresh air, I couldn't help but be reminded of some headlines I read a couple days before about how the Taliban was going door to door in Afghanistan looking for people on their own blacklist. And then I, of course, realized that wasn't the only thing Australia and Afghanistan had in common. So I thought it would be very interesting to make this video where I compare Australia and Afghanistan. Now, of course, Australia is a testing ground for other Western countries, so this will be interesting not only for people in Australia, but everyone in the West. So let's compare the two. Let's compare Australia and Afghanistan. Let's start with Afghanistan. So in Afghanistan, you have the Taliban. And of course, the Taliban represents an extreme ideology that believes our God-given rights and freedoms, and especially the God-given rights and freedoms of women, should be restrained or restricted. You can sum up the Taliban in this way. I'm sure that, although that's a very generalized statement of the Taliban, it is a very accurate statement of the Taliban. Now, of course, in Afghanistan, you also have the Afghan military, the Afghan security forces, whatever you want to call them. The law enforcement in Afghanistan, I guess you can say. And this law enforcement in Afghanistan, they apparently stood down. Now, there's different stories, there's different reports. Some of them apparently did want to fight, but they couldn't fight because their generals and more important people had been bought off. So we can say that the Afghan military, or the Afghan security forces, they decided to take the payday. They decided to not stand up to tyranny. They decided to say, you know what, I'm going to look after myself, I'm going to take the money, and I'm going to run. Or I'm going to take the money and stay and work for the Taliban. I'm sure many of them did that. So now let's look at the West. In the West, you have a very similar situation. You have a group of people who are clearly backwards, illogical, and corrupt, and this group is also clearly becoming more and more tyrannical. I'm sure everyone can agree on this. This group being backwards, illogical, corrupt, and becoming more tyrannical. And of course, this group now is instituting policies that, of course, are very similar to the Taliban, and in that regard, I mean they are instituting policies that clearly violate or restrain or even restrict our freedoms. So where are our security forces? Where is the military? Where are the police forces? Where are the sheriff's departments? Where are the people who swore to defend this country against enemies both foreign and domestic? And that's a better way of putting it. Defending this country, not the Constitution, but simply defending this country against enemies, foreign and domestic. And what defines this country? The Constitution does not define this country. What defines this country is the founding document, which is the Declaration of Independence. That is the country. If the Constitution allows the principles in the Declaration of Independence to be violated, if it is clearly not securing those principles, those ideas found in the Declaration of Independence, then clearly these law enforcement officers, these law enforcement communities should not be trying to defend it. So where are these people? Well, I'll tell you where they are. They're probably on vacation. I mean, they got sweet jobs. They got sweet pay, sweet benefits, guaranteed vacation, great overtime. So that's where they are. They appear to have taken the payout. So this video, it's not to shit on the law enforcement community. It's to call out the law enforcement community. I don't want to hate you guys. I don't want to be at war with you guys. I want to call upon you guys to do what you guys swore to do. I want to call upon you guys to do what people expect the law enforcement to do when the time is right. So I call upon the law enforcement community in the West to not act like the Afghan security forces acted. To take a Pink Floyd lyric, don't trade a walk-on part in the war for a lead role in a cage.
Dr. Fauci, when you're ready, it's your pitch. Dr. Anthony Fauci.